Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Molweni. So yesterday we had load shedding. So that has threw me out of my plans completely just throughout the day, because for some reason we had load shedding twice a day yesterday. Anyway, good morning, gentlemen. And I know there's a few ladies who are following the conversations. And today I don't mind the ladies jumping in the conversation, because this is a toss-up between the things that we do when we are raising the boy child versus how the boy child experiences these things. And I'm going to speak on behalf of the boy child this morning, and I'm going to speak or touch on what I think is one of the inner issues that some men have, or what we call inner wounds that some men have. Where I'm going to start is an example. So yesterday there was a post doing the rounds about a mom who was speaking on behalf of her 6-year-old child, that the child is a man of the house, and this child spoke that she's going to take care of the mom, wada. So this reminded me of the mental conditioning that we do to the boy child when we say, you are the man of the house, you are the protector, you, at a young age. And I just want to speak to that mental conditioning and how it can sometimes have dire consequences for the boy child. And we'll touch a bit in terms of where it's coming from, we know, but we'll touch a bit in terms of where it's coming from, so that at least we have a fuller idea around this conversation. Just want to move to my group, my page, so that I read some of the comments that I got yesterday around this topic. For those who don't know, I coach teenagers, and I specialize more with teen boys for some reason. I'm very, very good with teen boys and young men, young adult men, and I'm not afraid or ashamed of saying so now. That's where I specialize the most. A couple of years ago, I had a conversation with a teen boy who was highly stressed and highly depressed in terms of the clinical being depressed, and which then made the child go to substances as a coping mechanism. When we spoke more with this young man, he told me that there was an incident at home where I think a robbery or something happened, where men came into the house. It was just Yena and the mom and the younger siblings, and he was a teen boy. And when the robbers came in, they took a lot of stuff, and I think for him it was that sense of danger and everything that happened, and how helpless he felt at that moment when he could not assist. So thankfully they were not harmed, and the robbers left without having done any too much physical damage. But the problem the teen boy had was the feeling that I'm supposed to protect my family. I'm the man of the house. I'm supposed to protect my mom. I'm supposed to protect my younger siblings. I'm the man of the house because I'm told all the time that I'm the man of the house. And now a situation has happened and I could not protect my family, or I could not protect or cover my family because I'm the man of the house. So this young boy, this teen, was carrying this load in the sense that he's now afraid, Ukoti, when the next hit happens, or if the next robbery happens, he feels like he has let his family down, and he's feeling afraid because physically he knows that he could not have taken those guys on in any case, but that sense of responsibility that he was raised in, to say, be responsible for this family, be responsible for this house, be responsible for us, take care of us, protect us, was what was eating him up the most. And this is what led him to substances and abuse and depression. Now, we need to ask ourselves, is it fair? Is it fair for us to load these expectations to our kids? Like, what can a 12, 13-year-old do when guys with guns and knives comes? What can that young person do? This is even tougher for older men who witness their families being ravaged by robberies and stuff, and they cannot do anything because there's a gun pointed at them. It's even tougher for older men. How much more for the younger kids? With the ones that we say, you are the man of the house. We clearly say to a 12-year-old, we're teaching them those kind of traits. And I'm going to say touch a bit on in terms of where I think it's coming from. And I'm going to, you guys know that I'm going to make a general view. It doesn't mean that it applies to everyone, but I'm just going to speak to one pocket of it. One of the things that sometimes we do as single moms, and I'm counting myself as a single mom who's raising a boy child. One of the things that we do is when we've been hurt in dating things, when we've been hurt on Jolo things, we move to a space where we say, I'm not going to date again. I'm just going to focus on raising my child. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that, ne? To make that decision. Except if we don't deal with the hurt and the pain of Umjolo, we are going to unnecessarily load those pains and points onto our kids unintentionally. So we have to let go or heal that pain point, more so when we are raising a boy child. If we haven't healed or taken care of that pain point, what we then tend to do, we tend to move our full attention onto this child. We think of the kind of man that I wanted to have. We think maybe I need to shape and groom this child into the type of man that I think I wanted to have in my life, so that when this child grows, at least he becomes that man to other kids. Nothing wrong with that, except if it's coming from a pain point, all you're doing is you're transferring your pain onto your child. Ne? And then the other thing that we do as moms, we say, okay, there's no male figure in my family. There's no male figure that my child has access to. So I'm going to try and be that to him. That's why we fight a lot during Mother's Days and Father's Days, because we say I'm the mother and the father to the son. Because then what we do is we think about our notion of fatherhood, or our notion of parenting a boy child in terms of what would men do, and then we try and implant those on the child, because we say we're trying to close the gap. So we try and teach what society terms as the male role, but we do it from sometimes our pain point, or from our lack of being informed. Sometimes we mean well, but if it's coming from a certain energy space, then it becomes a problem. We then say a man the ideal is that a man protects, a man takes care of that, a man, all of the things that we say a man isn't or a man must. All of those belief systems that we carry about men and the ideal manhood, we plant those onto our kids. And we seldom check how our kids are receiving all of these men must things at a young age and how it's impacting them in terms of the growing up, the psyche, the conditioning. Yesterday, someone said, but my son does all these things on his own. I'm not teaching him all of these things. He just does these things. He says that he's the man of the house. He says that he'll take care of us, and my first thinking was, what do you do when your child says that? Do you giggle and say, oh, man of the house, my son is growing? We giggle and we giggle and we giggle, and we don't take notice that we are enabling the conditioning that we say we're not teaching. We are enabling a behavior that forces a child to be a man before they've even grown enough to understand themselves and who they are and what they bring into this world. So the act of enabling a behavior is that instead of correcting something, we let it go because we think so chances are it's meant to be good, man of the house. No. And a parent made a nice example yesterday. She said that her child, Yana as the parent, she fears spiders. And I'm using this example without judging you. It's just a lovely example. That she fears spiders, and then her son has grown to be the one that squashes or protects from the spiders. I just want to double check the age that she mentioned the child to be, because that's going to help me in this conversation. It's going to help me in this conversation. See, now my laptop is jumping around. My laptop. Oh, okay. Let's see that comment. Here we go. Yeah, 16-year-old. My 16-year-old is very protective of, although I've never given him man status. My dad is alive and we've lived with him all our whole lives, but I still feel that of him. Simple example, I'm scared of spiders and creepy crawlies, and he's made sure to take care of them for me. Let's be honest, we also like the idea of a man, especially if we don't have a man. If you have not dealt with what that looks like, we like the idea of another men taking care of us. And this would not have just happened at 16 years of age with spiders. It would have happened at a long time where where you allow and you condition your child to be the one that protects you. So I'm saying no to that. If you're afraid of spiders, you are the adult. You must take care of spiders in the house so that your child doesn't feel compelled to save you and to protect you. As the adults, before this child was born, what were we doing to deal with spiders in the house? What were we doing to ensure that we are safe and covered? And I'm saying it doesn't start at 16 years of age. It starts at a very, very young age, where the child responds to a conditioning. We don't verbalize it sometimes, but we enable it by allowing the child to play a certain role that they're not supposed to play, which is wrong. I'll make an example. My son is 2 years of age. Yes, my son, I'm raising a boy child. I think sometimes life has got a weird sense of humor because I'm raising a boy child. I'm in this space of working with boys and stuff. But anyway, I'm raising a 2-year-old boy, and I've noticed that he's afraid for me when I get into the shower because I don't know, he cries. I don't know what he thinks a shower is. He tries to save me from it and pushes me away. So then what I had to do is to gently, not make fun of him in terms of when he cries about it, but to show him that it is safe and that I'm safe in the shower. So what I've done is not take him away, but to say to Sissy, let him be, so that he witnesses that I'm safe in the shower and that I can take care of myself. It's just one simple example. Because because it might seem cute for him to push me away from the shower, and the Nama play along. Oh, the Nama is protecting me. Ooh, ooh, ooh. And yet the conditioning behind it would be to say that this child then, would be me enabling it and allowing him to. So what I want to say in this conversation to mothers, the role that you can play to your child is to be a mother. The minute you move into the masculine plane of trying to teach the father side of things, that's when things go haywire. I think, though, I understand mothers, because often the fathers leave us and they're not around to father their kids. I understand where that's coming from. But what I'm going to say is you have to trust life and this process to say, I'm going to be great at this mothering role, so that if my child has a gap in terms of the fatherhood side of things, at least I would not be feeding him the toxic side of manhood. At least I would not be feeding him the toxic side of manhood, but I fill up his cup in terms of the feminine side and also supplying all of his needs from the mother as well. I think the challenge we have is that in our guys, in our step to be good mothers or to be good parents, we tend to blur the lines a bit in terms of crossing over too much to trying to play the fatherly role, because we think we're closing the gap, because we don't want our kids to miss out. But then we miss some of the things that they become misaligned, because often it's not within our role plane to play that particular role. I hope I'm making sense. I'm going to check comments and questions. I'm going to check comments and questions. Did I say everything? Yeah. So based on the conversation, the example that I made with the teenager who felt disempowered because robbers came into the house and they could not save the parents. When we load or lord over our kids the role of them being men at a young age, we overly burden them. Sibathwalisa umthwalo omnzima ngaphezu kwabo. We overlive. Sibathwalisa umthwalo. I think it says it nicely. Have an image of a 16-year-old. Sibathwalisa umthwalo of a 50-year-old man. And then we say, this is beautiful because my child is trying to protect me. Oh, my child is trying to be a man. Let's allow our kids to be kids. Let's allow our kids to grow at the steps that they should be growing without us overly burdening them. Someone made a comment yesterday also that she saw in her husband that role where the mom-in-law was overly relied on the son being her man. That's the other thing that tends to happen quite a lot. When we are not self-aware or conscious as moms, we can easily position ourselves into a space where we say we don't need any other men, just our kids, because my boy fills the gap, my boy does it. It's unfair because you are loading too much onto your son. It's unfair. Masiambe sio Jolan if we have to. Let's go date. It's unfair when we are afraid to date, when we are afraid to learn to trust the next person, we load over those emotions onto our boy kids. It is unfair and should not be so. I understand when we are unconscious about it, but now we're living in a conscious age, so we have to be a bit more aware of how thinking out when we make certain decisions. So just because, Tina, we are afraid to go out and date, it doesn't mean that it's our kids' responsibility to make us fully happy all around. Our children will play their role, but we also need to seek certain things and certain validations outside of our kids. The minute we don't do so, we load our kids with so much that is unnecessary. I don't see comments this morning. Is it a tough conversation? There is a gentleman who sent me a message yesterday to say that he understands and identifies with this conversation because I know mothers have done this a lot to their sons. It's even much more deeper to adult sons, because what then tends to happen is that with adult sons, once they get married, the mothers, there's a mom actually who once said, after ndikukhulise kangaka mntanam, uyangishiya ngedwa. Iyoshada umuntu engamazi after ngikukhulise kangaka. So the more we grow, we tend to be more manipulative towards our sons, the more we grow. Because ngoku siyabona ukuthi asikho isikhathi sophinde siyojola anymore. And there's no one around us, and our sons are growing up, they're getting married. We then, if we are uncontent, to move into a space of being very manipulative, emotional blackmailing our kids to stay with us, to love us, and to be with us, which is unfair. And this is one of the things that has destroyed a lot of marriages, because moms-in-law or the mothers are just battling to let go, to cut the umbilical cord, to let their sons go and be happy, because they have not taken the effort to build their lives. It is also, in terms of, it's not about Ukjola only, like, have friends, build friendships with people, challenge yourself to have a life outside of your child, challenge yourself to have a life outside of, you have a new hobby, have a business, but besides the business, you need human beings as well, so that you are much more fuller than just the things that you have around you. Because if you don't do that, you're going to load your son so much more that's unnecessary. And then the more you grow, you're going to grow bitter because you made the wrong decisions. You're going to grow manipulative because you want to condition your child to stay with you. That's why, again, because things that we do to try and contain the people to stay with us, more than anyway, it's just the things that we do that then create certain things. I just want to check the comments. Morning, Kolega. Morning, Gugu. Morning, Google. Let's just check the comments. Let's just check the comments. All right. Let's see. Questions before I go out? Questions? So I think one of the things that I find men still find even harder, even at an older age, is standing up to their moms. Depending on how they were conditioned by that mom, how they were mentally conditioned by their mom. A lot of men still find it extremely hard to say no to their mothers, extremely hard to leave their moms alone in certain things, for them to learn to stand on themselves. It's extremely hard, and it all speaks to mental conditioning and how we condition the kids when we grow and groom them. So this is going to need to be an ongoing conversation in terms of raising the boy child. A couple of years ago, I thought of doing a seminar, and that speaks to raising the boy child. But in my life, sometimes I have ideas, but sometimes those ideas are not in time yet for them to be executed. So sometimes I wait for time to be complete before I carry on those ideas. So I think the time for that will come eventually, where we do seminars with regards to raising the boy child. Raising the boy child is one of my closest topics to my heart, because I work with boys a lot, and I work with young adults and men a lot. And sometimes a lot of what they go through is stuff that they cannot even talk about with their moms, as much as they feel protective of their moms. I think this is the last part of the conversation. Thank you so much. I will welcome comments even outside of this conversation so that we continue. But thank you so much for joining this conversation. And please have a wonderful day.